Well, guys, to tell you a little bit about me, I grew up in South Georgia and went to school at the University of Georgia. And then while I was in undergrad, can everybody hear me? Hopefully after that you can. When I was in undergrad, I decided I really wanted to cook for a living, and nobody in my family knew how to do that, or they all thought I was crazy. Everybody goes to law school or does anything professional, and so my parents thought that was nuts. And Natalie Dupree at the time lived in Social Circle, which was real close to Athens, where the university is. And I called 411, and because that's the only person I knew. You know, I saw her on TV, and I thought, well, she'll know what I should do. And I called 411, and Natalie answered the phone. And I said, I go to school at Georgia, and I need to know how to be a cook. And she said, well, you know, I happen to have an apprenticeship open, which is a free work. And said, well, why don't you come over and interview? So after that whole process, I worked for Natalie for almost a year during my senior year in college, and then came to Johnson & Wales here for culinary school. And after that, I went to Birmingham and was a food editor at Southern Living in their cookbook division. And then moved to Atlanta, and I do now what I do is I write cookbooks, I teach cooking classes, and write for magazines and newspapers. So I'm working on my third book right now, which is Girls' Night Out. And so I teach this class almost everywhere I go, and it gets to where when we start class, everybody's quiet like you all, and I complain that everybody sits there and doesn't say anything, and then within about 30 minutes, I have lost control of the entire group. And sure, once I start letting you drink, we're all done. And at one of my classes, I kept complaining that they didn't say anything, because I like people to once in a while, you know, act like they're there and ask me a question or say something. And so I had to start literally waving a towel every time I need to say something, because nobody would probably have known if I had gone home in 30 minutes. So we're going to start with the drink, and we're going to see what happens if you all still notice me in a few minutes. But we're going to start on Blackberry Bubbly, which is probably one of my favorite drinks in the book. And I'm under the impression if you add anything to champagne or anything sparkling, it's going to be good. So, and one of my favorite ingredients is the Black House. If y'all haven't tried it, it's a blackberry liqueur, and it's the only brand I know of that makes it. But House on here, it's German. It's spelled H-A-U-S, but you can find it at most liquor stores. It's really good. I really enjoy it. So I kind of mix it in with whatever I may make. It's a blackberry schnapps, yeah. But sometimes, actually one time I was looking for it in Atlanta, and somebody on the Food Network had used it for something, and it was gone everywhere for probably 3 weeks. So if you ever see it, pick some up. And this is a good-sized bottle because you don't use much of it at a time. They make one that's a lot larger than this, so get the smaller one. And I think I saw the price tag on this. It wasn't but $12, so it's not real expensive stuff. So, okay, the first thing we're going to do is put just a little bit in our champagne glass. Now, it kind of depends on what shape champagne glass you have. If you have the flute at home, if you have the real skinny, now that's kind of cool, the real skinny wide glass that they used to use like in the 70s that people are using again now, you'll have a little bit different measurement. So just don't pour as much champagne. You don't want to overflow. So we're going to put a little bit of this in first, about a tablespoon. And the interesting part is when we add our sorbet, the sorbet has a chemical reaction with the champagne and it bubbles. So that's why I say on your recipe to make sure and leave a 1-inch rim, because you don't want to bubble over. And you might bubble your first one over and have to drink that one just to make sure it works. But I went ahead and we've scooped out all the little balls of our sorbet. If you don't want to use blackberry or blueberry, there's 10 zillion different flavors. You can use raspberry or peach or whatever, and there's almost a liqueur or schnapps to go with everything that there is. And another one that's really good is the boysenberry. So if you see that one, try that one. That one's kind of hard to find. But I just use one of these little scoops, and you just scoop them out. And when you have a party, and of course you don't have time to be scooping all the time when you're have your friends there. I do this at home where I have just a big tray of all the scoops, and then I'll just let people fix their drink as they go, and they can just go in the freezer and grab it. And you can make them, if you need them a little bit smaller, if you need them a little bit bigger, you can do that. And we'll loosen one up. Okay, so pour your champagne in, and don't go spend $50 about champagne that we're going to pour sorbet into, because you're going to waste your money. I'm not suggesting to go get Cooks for $6.99, but you don't want to buy the best you can find. Okay, so we're going to drop this little guy in. Now, by the time you get them around and people start serving them, you'll notice that it starts to melt and the pink flavor just sinks down into it. So it turns into almost a pinkish, bluish drink. So it gets really pretty. But I like how it starts to fizz in there, as I made a mess on the rim of the glass. But those are the ones I think are just a pretty, pretty drink. But at Christmas time even, if you wanted to do this same drink and use strawberry sorbet or raspberry, then it'll be a bright pink drink by the time you serve it. Do y'all have any questions on that one? You're just ready to drink it?